After separating from their tribe to find the greatest villain of all time, the minions are given the mission of stealing the Queen of England's crown to prove that they deserve the title of evil henchmen. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, Minions. From 2015, millions of years ago, on planet Earth, a new species of creatures called the Minions emerged from the depths of the ocean and set off for dry land with the sole aim of finding the most evil supervillain of all, so that they could serve him during his reign of evil. The great tribe then travels the world, jumping from one leader to another over the ages, because thanks to their disastrous deeds, they have eliminated their own bosses, needing to flee to a new place so they can start again. When lost in a blizzard, just after escaping from their latest mischief, the minions discover an abandoned ice cave and turn it into their new village, building their houses and having fun in the snow. However, the little ones quickly tire of this and begin to regret their lives, since they have no evil boss to serve. Realizing this, a brave and intelligent member of the tribe called Kevin decides to make a big decision and gathers all the members of the cave to make a statement. He promises that he will leave that place to explore the outside world, and will face all dangers to bring up the biggest villain he can find. However, Kevin says that he needs 2 companions to help him on this mission, and asks who would like to join him. When he hears this, Bob, the youngest of the tribe, gets very excited and offers to accompany him, but Kevin avoids answering him, as the minion isn't strong enough to help with the mission. At that moment, in the middle of the crowd, another minion raises the arm of Stuart, the tribe's musician, and the minion quickly accepts the invitation, as he sees everyone cheering for him in the audience. With no other candidates offered, Kevin is forced to accept Bob to accompany them on this mission, and together, the 3 say goodbye to the tribe as they set off in search of the minions' greatest supervillain. The trio travel thousands of kilometers, and after several days of walking, they arrive in New York City, where they manage to find new clothes and continue their search. While exploring the city, Bob gets distracted while observing a woman wearing a banana dress. As he tries to approach her, he ends up being caught by the taxi driver and thrown into the trunk. While Kevin and Stuart run after the car, the youngest is spotted by the lady and is kicked out of the vehicle. Seeing little Bob entering the mall, the older duo run after him and manage to catch up. The adventurers then decide to spend the night inside one of the stores, and while watching a program on TV, the signal starts to fail, so Stuart tries to fix it by fiddling with the antenna. At that moment, the trio manage to connect to a secret channel about villains, where they discover that there is going to be a big secret event, with the special participation of Scarlet Overkill, the biggest and most famous supervillain in the world. The minions are excited by the woman's presentation and decide to go and meet the villain so they can make her their new boss. The next day the group sets off for Florida, where the event will take place, and decide to stop in the middle of the road to hitchhike. After a few unsuccessful attempts, they notice a car approaching, and after almost being run over, the trio meet the Nelsons, a family of villains who rob a bank in the middle of the journey. While fleeing the scene, the bandits realize they are being chased by the police and use paintball guns to obstruct the car's view. In the backseat, Kevin and Stuart find a bazooka and start fighting over the gun. In the middle of the argument, the pair accidentally fire a missile and the projectile hits a lamppost, knocking down several other lampposts and a large water tank, preventing the police from continuing their pursuit. Sometime later, the group finally arrives at the scene, and after saying a password, the car is sucked underground, where the entrance to the villain's event is. As they walk through the event, the adventurous trio come across all kinds of villains, and soon after, they set off for the performance of the Great Scarlet, who comes flying out in her jet dress. During her show, the supervillain tells them she's looking for new henchmen, which gets the minions excited. The woman then grabs a ruby and says that whoever manages to take it off her hands will get the job. At the same moment, several villains from the audience start to approach the stage and attack Scarlet, who defeats them one by one without any difficulty. In the midst of the confusion, Bob's teddy bear is pulled into the fray, and the little guy goes after it, causing his older friends to have to go and get him out. At that moment, several competitors throw themselves at the supervillain, who repels them all with a powerful kick. Soon after, Scarlet notices that she is holding a teddy bear and asks who took her ruby. Little Bob then begins to choke and spits the precious stone out of his body. Impressed by what she sees, the villain makes up her mind and appoints the minions as her newest henchmen. After the celebration, she gets on her jet and heads to England with the trio. During the flight, Kevin decides to call the tribe, who answer and say they are overjoyed to have been found by a group of Yetis, who are now the minions' new bosses. However, the little one's joy is short-lived, because while they are putting on a show of songs for the monsters, one of the instruments causes a huge tremor in the cave, causing an ice stalactite to fall on the head of the boss, knocking him unconscious. As a result, the remaining Yetis become enraged and expel the tribe from their own lair, forcing them to begin a journey to England so that they can meet up with the trio. In England, Scarlet takes the trio of minions to her castle, and after showing the place to her new henchmen, the woman introduces her husband, Irby, an inventor and criminal mastermind. Soon after, the supervillain shows them her treasure room, where she keeps the most valuable items she has ever stolen. The woman then begins to explain the first mission of her new helpers, where the target is none other than the Queen of England. Scarlet orders the minions to steal the royal crown, and if they succeed, she guarantees that they'll have everything they've ever dreamed of. Upon hearing this, the little ones instantly accept the mission. Irby then takes the newcomers to his laboratory and shows them the tools he has created to help them steal the crown. Little Bob gets a mechanical arm that can stretch infinitely. Kevin receives the lava fusilator, a gun that shoots pure lava, and Stuart is presented with the hypnobubble, a psychic helmet that can hypnotize anyone who looks at it. On the other side of the continent, the tribe continues their journey to find their way to England, while trying not to be devoured by wild bears. In London, the minions create a disguise so as not to arouse suspicion, and after passing through the reception, they enter the Royal Museum. In their search for the crown, they end up being spotted by 3 royal guards. To protect the group, Stuart uses the hypnobubble and starts dancing to a song with the guards, who, being distracted, don't see them moving away. They then find a large door blocking the way, and Kevin uses the lava fusilator to melt a piece of it, creating a passage. As they enter the room, they are intercepted by the guardian of the crown, who begins to hit them with his crutch, throwing Kevin against the wall. Stuart tries to hypnotize him, but because he's blind and half-deaf, the old man is unaffected by the hypnobubble, and manages to knock the little guy down without difficulty. Seeing this, Kevin gets angry and tries to throw lava at the guardian, who sticks the tip of his crutch into the lava fusilator's nozzle, causing it to explode and repel everyone away. With the sound of the explosion, the crown is protected and begins to be removed from the room. While the old man is disoriented, the minions throw themselves into the hole and Bob starts sawing away at the crown capsule. Just then, the doors open and the royal guards remove the crown from the exhibition, handing it over to the queen, who leaves the museum in a royal carriage. The trio then begin to chase the object through the streets and Bob uses his bionic limbs to create gigantic legs that allow him to walk quickly through the streets of London while carrying his companions in his arms. At the sight of the intruders, the policemen grab Bob's legs, who, before falling, throws Kevin and Stuart towards the carriage. While Stuart battles the queen for the crown, Kevin tries to steer the vehicle, but realizes that they are about to fall into the river and tries to apply the brakes. However, the mechanism ends up breaking, separating the vehicle from the horses. When all seemed lost, Bob manages to catch up with them and uses his equipment to hold on to the vehicle, doing a stylish drift and crashing into a tree, ending up inside a park. As they emerge from the rubble, the minions start to run from the police, but Kevin and Stuart are caught, and Bob makes his way to the monument of the sword in the stone. Afraid of the guards, the little guy pulls the sword out of the stone using his metal arms and everyone around him bows, believing that they have just found a new king to take the throne. While the adventurous trio prepare for the coronation, the rest of the tribe continue their journey to England and undergo countless challenges, such as crossing a gorge and flying outside an airplane. Soon, the whole country knows about the new king, and everyone watches the news on TV. At this point, Scarlet is furious because she has just been betrayed by her own henchmen. Immediately, the supervillain gets on her jet and heads for the royal palace to take revenge on the minions. The yellow one arrive at the coronation site, and as nervous as he is, Bob walks up to the altar and welcomes all the visitors to the royal palace, who shout out the name of the new king. After the coronation, the minions have fun in the palace, taking advantage of all the butler services, swimming pools and jacuzzis. However, the fun comes to an end when Scarlet and Irby suddenly appear and threaten the little ones with betrayal, saying that they are trying to steal their dream. At this point, Kevin takes the crown and offers it to the villain, but the butler says that according to the law, he can't pass on the royal office to his wife. So Bob comes up with the idea of decreeing that Scarlet will be crowned the newest queen of England. The next day, the press gathers in front of the palace, where the head of the minions gives a speech thanking them for having not only stolen the crown, but also all the influence in the country. Once inside the castle, the supervillainess takes the minions to the dungeons, locking the door behind them. Scarlet then reveals that she actually hates the trio and that, as much as she has tried to forgive them for their betrayal, she can't help but feel remorse for what happened. Therefore, she intends to keep them locked up until they are eliminated. Soon afterwards, Blairb, the dungeon master, appears, saying that he will bring a wave of suffering for them, and traps the trio in a bizarre machine. However, the adventurers feel nothing, and after freeing themselves, they start to have fun with the mechanisms, taking lots of photos with the man. Blair then hears Scarlet calling him to the coronation, but before he leaves, the man says goodbye to the minions and makes the incredible revelation that he was actually Irby. The little ones then look for some way out of there, and Kevin finds a sewer exit, where they manage to escape through the tunnels. After stealing a wreath from a funeral to make an apology to their evil ex-boss, they manage to find a way out through one of the manholes in the street. In the middle of the palace, the future queen is talking to her stylist when her husband arrives and starts explaining about all the weaponry he has built inside her dress, which now contains ultra-resistant armor and nuclear equipment. Now that everything is ready, the couple leave for the church where the coronation ceremony will take place. While Scarlet walks down the red carpet towards the crown, the minions try to find an entrance through the roof of the place. When Kevin is observing the situation to formulate a plan, Bob and Stuart are startled by a bee chasing them and jump on top of the church chandelier, causing the object to spin, getting closer and closer to falling. With that, the leader of the group hangs onto a rope, and after scaring the bee away, he helps them off the chandelier. The problem is that Bob's foot is stuck in a hole, and when he pulls it out, the object falls on Scarlet's head. The adventurers try to leave unnoticed, but the Queen of Crime repels the debris with her rocket dress and orders all her subjects to chase down and capture the minions. During the chase, one of the villains uses the body of one of his companions as a ball of thorns and throws it at his targets. To protect themselves, Kevin pulls his friends into a phone booth, but thanks to a criminal with a chainsaw, they are forced to return to the chase soon after. To slow down their enemies, Stuart uses the whip of a cowboy who is trying to ambush them as a trap and manages to take down several henchmen. When a villain emerges from the ground with a giant drill, the minions get scared and end up getting separated in the streets. Stuart and Bob try to escape from a crazy clown who juggles bombs, but to no avail. The explosions repel Stuart away and he collides with the belly of one of the henchmen and is captured. Kevin continues to dodge the big guys chasing him, and manages to knock over a lamp on one of them. Little Bob hides in an alley to be safe when he notices a creature behind him in a pool of water. When he gets closer, he discovers it's a trap, so he ends up being caught by the fish man and pulled underwater. Alone on the streets, Kevin calls out to his companions, but gets no answer. The leader then decides to go into a pub to hide. Inside the establishment, he comes across the former Queen of England, who is drinking and having fun with the big boys. On TV, the reporter informs the citizens about all the current chaos with the criminals, and the great villain Overkill appears to send Kevin a message, saying that she has managed to capture his two friends, and that if he doesn't show up by dawn, they will both be eliminated. Without thinking twice, the leader of the minions leaves the pub and heads for Scarlet's castle to rescue his friends. Meanwhile, the rest of the tribe manage to get to London, and start looking for the adventurous trio, and their long-dreamed of evil boss. On arriving at the site, Kevin enters through the pipe and manages to collect some of Herbie's equipment from the laboratory. What the little guy doesn't know is that the criminals have found him. They're gathering at the main gate to take him down and get to their target. To protect himself, Kevin enters Scarlet's technological capsule and accidentally pushes all the buttons, causing the contraption to turn on. The machine begins to make the leader grow, making him gigantic at the same time as the castle is totally destroyed by his new body, and the Colossus project sets off on a rampage towards the city to find Bob and Stuart. On the other side of town, the villainous Overkill is preparing a mountain of dynamite to blow up the adventurous duo, who are tied to the top of the bombs. When the bombs were about to explode, Kevin found his companions, and after getting them away from the mountain of explosives, he used the jet of water from a fire hydrant to put out the dynamite. Furious at having her plan thwarted, Scarlet activates her rocket dress and sets off to attack the giant minion, who tries to resist her attacks by trying to prevent his tiny friends from falling from a great height. Due to all the chaos the battle is creating, the destruction draws the attention of the tribe, and all the minions finally find their leader. Overkill then uses her lava machine guns, and after cornering the yellow crowd, she prepares to deliver a final blow, but is stopped by Kevin, who with a single blow causes the villain to be thrown against several buildings. While the group of minions were celebrating their supposed victory, Scarlet returned, even more furious, and activated her nuclear missile, firing it at Kevin. After the attack, the supervillain rescues Irby and starts flying out of the city to get out of the blast radius. However, the yellow giant manages to hold the projectile in his hands, and after noticing that there is nowhere to deflect it, he decides to try to swallow it. Seeing that the crime queen is fleeing with her husband, Kevin tries to catch up with them and holds the rocket, causing it to be carried up into the sky with the couple. Minutes later, the tribe witnesses a huge explosion and are devastated, believing that their leader has been eliminated. The minions then sing a farewell song to the supposedly deceased, but Kevin appears from the sky, gliding in his giant shorts. With everyone gathered, the minions set off for the Great Royal Palace, where the Queen is waiting for them on stage. After thanking them and congratulating them on their wisdom and bravery, the Queen presents each of the 3 adventurers with royal gifts. At this point, Bob receives a small gold crown, thanks to his work as a king. Stuart, on the other hand, gets a special guitar and uses it to play his first and last solo. And finally, Kevin is recognized as a hero of the highest order, and from now on, he will have the royal title of Sir Kevin. During the celebration, the Queen realizes that her crown is missing again, and as she looks into the audience, Kevin spots Scarlet in the crowd, running away with the object in her arms. Before she could even leave, the supervillain was struck by a freezing ray and a small one appeared, taking the crown from her hands. The minions are enchanted by the power and mischievousness of the boy, who is followed by the Yellow Tribe as he sets off on his flying motorcycle. This time, they've finally found the boss villain they've been after. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.